The National Conservative Party failed in the recent local elections, and they failed quite badly. Why do you think that was?
I think you always start with a view that most governments, mid-term, over a decade into national government, will do badly in these sorts of local elections. It's always probably a question of how badly, rather than is it good or bad. There have been some exceptions to that, and I think they are interesting ones that show that that's not always the case, but generally speaking, national governments do quite poorly. I think why the result was so bad for the Conservatives this year was it's hard to point to something that is going well at the moment. Cost of living is a massive pressure. Whatever the multitude of reasons behind that, some international, but definitely some national decisions by government. You've got cost of living crisis, you've got an NHS in crisis as well. You've got real concerns about the state of the economy and not growing at all, mortgages and interest rates putting pressure on people. And generally people, I think, look around and think, is the country sort of putting its best foot forward, or is it kind of stagnating or even going backwards? And so I think there is a sense that time is running out for the Conservative Party nationally, and this election is probably showing the first signs of that starting to be shown in elections. So I think it's a combination of natural midterm blues, if you want to call it that. But I do think if I was in the Conservative Party, I'd be a lot more worried, because it's a sign that people are starting to get fed up with them after 13 years, with very little sign of anything to show for those 13 years.
So what do you think?
I think most of what Eamonn said is probably true. I think also rather kindly he omitted to say some of the sort of catastrophes that as a party occurred last year, which on the doorstep, certainly for us, people still remember, and understandably. And I think that in looking forward to what will inevitably be the general election for next year, I still think there is some hope, because I think that whilst the national results suggested that there was a swing towards Labour, understandably, I'm not so sure it's a killer blow towards Labour. I still think that there is people who would come back to the Conservative Party if they were assured that some stability and some trust came back to that. And I think that's where the work that now needs to be done over this next 12 months, because I still think that the election is winnable, probably still for both sides, because I still think there's an element of people who are looking to Labour wanting to get a bit more certain about Sir Keir, and I think what the Conservatives do also need to understand that Keir is a totally different perspective than we had with Jeremy Corbyn. Whatever you may say about him as a person, he's a very credible man. Let's be perfectly honest, he is, and people will look to him, and I think that gives him a particular challenges in trying to reassure people that what he says, we get into some of the sort of change of mind that happens, that I think he himself has a challenge of restoring that sort of confidence in people that what he says as a party, that they move forward. And there is enormous challenges still for Rishi and the Conservatives to do. But I don't think all is lost as yet.